Health, Safety and Property Committee meeting August 7th. To order. Roll call, please.
Matthew Barnhill.
Here.
Wally McNair.
Here.
Steve Janakis.
Here.
Danny Clark.
Danny Moore. Here.
Carla Moore.
Here.
Ron Mayberry.
Here.
Dusty Jordan.
Here.
Keith Nash.
Here.
Ricky Murray.
Here.
Devin Pickard.
Here.
Claude Calicott.
Here.
Clay Chester.
Here.
Mike Wayne Thomason.
Here.
Todd Collins.
Here.
14 present, none absent.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda. I'll make a motion to approve the agenda. You make a motion? All in favor? All right, we don't have no minutes because we didn't meet in July, so we don't have no minutes. Reports, first up is Robert for the cleanup.
Right here.
Yeah, please.
I'm kind of alone on this. I lost my heifer with this, so hope for the best. I've got 5, maybe 6. You're gonna notice from this number here, this is actually our number 4th case in 19. It's 0004, and it's on Lockhart Lane. That's right off of Oak Springs Road. I've dealt with this till I don't know what else to do with it, to send it on. I've got the file here if anybody's got any questions.
Do us vote on them individually, send them on, or just give you that?
This is to where we could turn them over to Dan, our attorney.
Second. A motion, a second, copy. Michael, all in favor, we need a roll call now. All in favor? Aye.
Okay, I've got 0132. It's in the Wrigley area on Maple Street. Can't get no response from them. We're sending them mail, certified, everything else. They just don't respond. So I need to send it on to legal.
Motion to approve. Send it. Second.
All in favor?
Ready for the next one? Got one on Emma's Way, that's right off of Church Road. I have met with these people 3 times, and their promises never hold up. I give them more than the 90-day notices I should have given. I have 2 lately, 2 signed complaints on it from 2 neighbors, and that is 0047.
When was your last interaction with them? You said you had some contact. When was the last?
I haven't had any contact with them for several months. The neighbors I met with last week, and they got a bad rat. I've actually seen the rats running through the yard, and it's due to people just throwing the trash in the backyard and too lazy to take it to our transfer station.
Motion to approve.
Motion,
Second.
second, all in favor?
Ready for the next one?
Yep.
Got one on Back Piney Road. It's just simply I can't get no response from them. We've sent them certified, done everything. We've even sent them an estimated cost. They don't respond. And that is 0179.
Have an address on that? What part of that?
It's 10782. And you'd like to see the file, you can
No,
do
I just
that.
wondered.
Second. Second.
Who was the second?
All in favor?
One more. We've got several more in the file, I just hadn't got to. These are just the ones that's been going along. This is 0188. It's on Paul's Place, which that's right off of Rocky Point Road. I've had that entire road at one time. And they've all kind of complied with the exception of this one, and no response. And it's all in here where they've had their certified notices, everything.
Just have a comment, doing a ride along last week with the sheriff's department, I was gonna bring up Paul's Way, why you didn't have any issue
I've
seeing
had
it.
every one of them, and some of them right now are trying to work to have, if you rode down through there a year ago,
Yeah.
you'd say now it's an improvement.
A lot of, I've been through there and it is a lot better.
And the only one that has worked with me that I will mention his name is Mr. Perry. He tore 2 single wides down that he had down there.
Motion to approve.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
That's all the cases I have, except I'm still would like some consideration on amending to where we have to go to file complaint only. Cause it's just getting where if they expect me to ride the road and they wanna call me and then get behind a tree, it's just getting kinda dangerous and hard. But if you gotta file a complaint, you got a lot more to stand on. And if the neighbors are that tired of it, they need to file a complaint. And we're getting more of that. I think we're getting, people are seeing that and getting more of it. That's like the one I mentioned on Emma's Way. There was actually 2 people signed complaints there once I explained to them how long I've been dealing with it and I needed some help. They signed complaints against them. And that does help. Miss Amy Puckett, our judge, she pays a little more attention to that also, if that's mentioned in court. And it would save the county a lot of trouble because we could stop the people that, like I said, wants to hide behind that tree and maybe cut out some of the Hatfield McCoy stuff too. I would really like y'all to take that into consideration. Thank y'all.
You're right.
Is that, we got base from Shelter Friends?
I'm not sure where to set it. Can I set it on, what is this for? This is not for.
Soundboard. Can you hold it?
All right. Just a reminder, that's what we're working toward. I'll stand back where I can see you guys. I want to give a quick history catch up. We've not seen each other in a couple months. Just a reminder of how we got here. Starting way back, but I'm gonna go quick. So in 1995, Tennessee gave animal control policies to each county to establish animal control. Between 1994 and 97, the Hickman Humane Society was established, and town of Centerville passed animal control and established their own animal shelter. In 2018, Hickman County Commissioners established an animal control committee and passed a resolution to establish animal control, an animal control officer, and a shelter in our county. Shelter Friends was established in January 2019 and approved by the Public Safety Committee to be the nonprofit in charge of fundraising and building an animal shelter. In 2020, Shelter Friends was given up to 5 acres on the former county industrial site between North Lake Creek and Highway 7 that y'all are familiar with. Last year, we ordered building plans from Morton Building, and Morton gave us that layout so that we could take it to fundraisers and show you guys what we're working towards. Recently, Shelter Friends hit the $200,000 raised mark to include an anonymous $10,000 donation that got us started, a $20,000 donation, well, 2 $10,000 donations total from a family foundation in Nashville, $45,000 from the Miranda Lambert Mutt Nation Foundation, and then all of the little fundraisers we've had since then. We've sold t-shirts, yard signs, we've had large in-person fundraisers, and we constantly we did Amazon Smile, but that's ended. Walmart Spark the Good, which is online shopping, and Facebook fundraisers. In spring 2023, I believe it was the May meeting, we provided cost estimates to the Public Safety Committee of what we think that this shelter is going to cost. And I'll be providing a revised cost estimate here in a second. I want to give some stats. Year to date, I got the CAD calls from 911. There was 194 calls to the Sheriff's Department for animal control. Just on Lost and Found Pets on Facebook, if y'all follow that, in July there were 41 dogs reported lost, 5 cats, 2 cows, and a horse. The cows were claimed, the horse was sent to a horse rescue in Hickman County River Edge Horse Farm. In August so far, there's been 8 dogs, 2 cats, and 3 horses reported on Facebook as lost. I think the horses did get claimed yesterday. We recently got $1,600 from Fairview Walmart and $1,070 from Facebook fundraisers. So the money is still coming in as we still work towards this. On August 2nd, to address some questions that have come up to us over the last year, Shelter Friends and Hickman Humane Society had a meeting to talk about future funding and how we thought the shelter would be managed or what the oversight would look like. So that's what I'm passing out to you guys. And before I forget, I'd like to introduce Ray Linder. He's a board member of ours so that he can help me answer any questions you guys might have. I think I handed y'all my copy, but anyway, there's two options that kind of answer some questions. Option one was kind of floated to us in September last year, that the county would completely fund the animal shelter's construction costs, that Shelter Friends would then use the seed money to put towards operational costs. Shelter Friends, I brought our charter if anybody wanted to see it. It is in our charter that once the shelter is built, we would transition into an advisory role. It doesn't necessarily mean the same faces that have been raising the money and building the building will be the committee, but there would be a Shelter Friends board that would be in an advisory position and enter into a cost sharing agreement with the county. But that's with our understanding the county would pay for employees, utilities, and insurance of the building because it would be your building. Option two is what was floated to us in May, that the county government would match the funds that we've already raised, and we would put both of those funds, and obviously still need to do some fundraising to complete the building. Once complete at that point, Shelter Friends would have depleted all of their funds and wouldn't have anything to put towards operational costs. So operational costs would be on the county at that point, but Shelter Friends would still be seeking grants and fundraising to cover shelter costs such as medicine, vet bills, and food, as well as participate in community education and outreach for the shelter. The revised cost estimate is on the back, and it was the HVAC systems where we went from $77,000 to $50,000 for a cost estimate. Yes.
So this is very detailed, and I love how you laid it out, particularly by line item. Now, when I look at the what does it not include, it feels pretty significant too. Do you happen to have a sense of what the additional cost would be for that?
Well, the site prep,
Even if it,
my understanding is solid waste, because they're going to be borrowing dirt from our side of the property, that they would help kind of get it site ready. And then from that point, we would have to get it pad ready and get gravel down and plumbing installed. But that they are gonna move all the dirt for us.
right, but cumulative, just in the macro, do you have a sense of what you think that number could look like additionally?
No, because some of this can be donated. We can get donated time to help drywall. We can get donated time to paint.
Okay.
We can paint, yeah, we'll be painting. We'll be installing cabinets for sure. We'll be out there, but,
Okay, I get
that's
it.
just some of the things, like paving of a parking area. I don't know if the highway department would be up for doing that or not, because it's a county building. I don't know how that works. I hadn't gotten to that point yet.
No, it's a good outlook.
When, Carla, when a shell gets up, when there's bricks and mortar, and I know you've worked corporate, most foundations don't donate money until they can see something solid.
Sure.
Because they want to make sure it makes it. So bricks and mortar is the term I used to be associated with the foundation. When that gets up, the internal sheetrock and everything we're talking about aren't necessary to house an animal, but they're necessary to run the place.
They certainly are. Insulation in the building, yeah. So,
So it could be possibly grant covered once we can say, here's our address, here's what the building looks like, and apply to Petco or, Bissell or whoever helps out with the grants like that.
But it's your sense, your overall feeling that this could get donated, supported, grant money supported?
Yeah.
No, that's good.
You have your construction guy, nobody's got, I could come up with a number, but I don't wanna do that. A number on this, I'm just speaking for myself. And we're talking about $200,000. If I'm gonna give you if I'm gonna put 200,000 towards this, I'd like to put 200,000 plus this right here towards it and go ahead and get it done. Because that puts us in this in a different way when we give you that 200,000 and the clock's gonna start running. I would rather your group, instead of trying to hang drywall and trying to hang cabinets and paint, be sitting on a computer pursuing some of those grants for the operation of this. I knew when we did this years ago that there was a lot more operational grant money out there than there ever would be brick and mortar. I can think of something better for you to do than paint.
Me too.
I'd at least like to have a number to consider on the completion of the building, because if we buy in for 200, if I can't speak for anybody but me, if we buy in for the 200 and it takes another 2 years to complete that building, that's not gonna look good. I'd like to have something to compare if y'all could get it to us on with your 200 and what we put with it, what's gonna get us a complete building. And I'd really rather you not be out there painting. If you could be more beneficial to the overall project doing something else. I used to work for Habitat and I used to hate their volunteer. I'll pay my crew, come on out there, keep your volunteers out of the way. Let them make sandwiches. And it would, this will work, but I appreciate what y'all do. I'm not knocking y'all, but y'all don't need hammers.
I'm actually the handyman in my house, but might surprise you. Yeah.
If I can comment on that. I worked with Habitat too before, and I concur with your comments there. And stop some from fixing the laser and putting it in a different spot on a 2x4, trying to set the foundation 2 feet apart on 2 different sides, which wouldn't work too well. I think the easiest way to get a ballpark figure is a number of us that are involved in the construction know how much something per square foot costs. We just took, we took 200 square foot, which is too much. It's a metal building for that. And this would be over 800,000 to 4,000. You drop that down between 100 and 150. It's hard to come up with anything finished these days. I think if anyone's trying to build something to a complete estate, I'd love to be within twice that number. In addition, I'm doing on a house right now. So that would throw a dart at it. If you want to do, that's 600. And we are not looking to use more anything to an estimate as far as control the cost of the whole way, as far as we quote. And like Becky said, we'll sure be asking for some discounts. Contractors that have an interest and are present in this county also, to see if we can all contribute, because we're all willing to support this ourselves too.
I just have a question. If we could ask, just for refreshing our memories, Crystal could kind of tell us what is left in the ARPA funds. I think we all probably forgot by now anyway. She'd kind of refresh our memory.
After your allocation, you have about $820,000 left.
Oh, I didn't have, I was refereeing. Oh, okay.
Along with what Danny said, what does not include, maybe and mights and possibly funding, what's the worst case? I would like to know before I go over anything, what's the worst case if we're going to put the burden on the taxpayers?
Of operational costs, or?
On this does not include paving the site prep installation.
Well, if it's ARPA funds, it wouldn't be on the taxpayers, right? 'Cause that's,
Well, it's somebody's tax money, it's our tax money, our ARPA money is tax money. We got it from the federal government, they take a lot from us and they give a little bit back. So, the way I look at it. So, it does not include in the operational costs, you got any kind of estimations on operational costs while you mention that?
Well, in the first proposal, we're assuming operational costs will be about 100,000, so we said we'd put in 2 years of operational costs.
Do you have any hard numbers? I mean, anything showing any of that?
Estimating it from all the other visits we've done to other shelters and what their budgets have been. And the size of our shelter compared to theirs.
I do have one now, I didn't a while ago. On option one, option two, when you were going through a while ago, was there a timeline? Did option one happen first and then option two? Do you remember when you were reading through that? If you told me there was.
Oh, no, I came up with the options. It was, oh, which one was offered first?
Yes, ma'am.
Option one.
Okay.
One of the things that I like about whichever way we go is I would really like the Shelter Friends group or them in partnership with the Humane Society to stay intact and play a big role in managing this operation. I don't feel very confident that a committee of the legislative body would do the best job of that. I don't think this legislative body wants to do that. And so I like the idea of letting them help on the operations side of things. If once we do get a final number of what we'd be paying. A lot of the people that I spoke with, I would classify as very much pro animal control, but very cautious about what the operational side would be once it's up and running. And so to me, that sort of leaves them with some skin in the game once the thing is built. It's not going to be built and then here you go, county, it's your baby to run. You know, they're offering to stay on board and help with the funding on the operational side of things. The other part of that is, you know, it would be a county-owned building once you know, we assume it, even if they paid for all of the construction. And I would hope this would never happen, but any future legislative body could decide we're not going to use that for an animal shelter anymore. We're going to use it for X, Y, Z. And it wouldn't matter how they raised the money, and it was promised that it would be used for animal control. And so we need some way of protecting that investment for them, I believe, if we go that route with them paying for the construction. And I understand the original resolution called for them to do all that heavy lifting first, but in my mind, when COVID came on, that changed the name of the game. It made it difficult to fundraise for a long period of time. We also didn't foresee money like the ARPA money even being available. I mean, we would probably never be able to build something like that on our own with just property tax dollars, but that situation has sort of changed now. So I think it could be made to work with either one of these options, but I believe it's something we do need, and however we need to get that done, whether there's more numbers on what the final construction will be, we probably need to get that first, but every person I talked to agreed we needed animal control. There's some difference in opinion on how to manage it long term, but I think either one of these options could make it work.
I want to note something about the $200,000 that's been raised. I think we all agree on our board that probably 100% of it is people that live here, own land here, have ties to this county. None of it has been random. Mutt Nation, their board members live in Hickman County. The Family Foundation out of Nashville, they have board members that live in Hickman County. Even people where it's just a weekend home, we're getting $1,000 donations from those kind of people. So your constituents are all putting their money where their mouth is.
I'd like to add to this part of the volunteers. There's a great job being done by a number of volunteers in the county now handling foster dogs and export. I'm impressed with that group of people. That volunteerism is pretty pervasive. I'm not from Hickman County. I've been here close to 20 years now. But it's pervasive, and the volunteers that do this stuff aren't looking to drop their involvement in the continued animal welfare in the county.
Right, in both options, there's going to be a sheltered group, Humane Society group that are still involved.
And I'll add one other thing. I think Jason's still set in here. This is the first time since I've been on the commission, though, that we've had a sheriff's department that's really willing to help in this. And I think that makes this an appropriate time to try to get this done as well. You know, like, and the last time he said he had an officer that was in the process of being hired that was already a certified animal control officer. To me, that's a huge plus right off the bat. And so I think that makes it a very good time to pursue this as well.
More comments or questions?
Sounds good.
County Mayor.
Thank you, sir. I got a lot, but I'm gonna hurry up with it, so you guys aren't too bored with me. In my hand, I'm holding 3 lease agreements for the archives building, the Ag, UT Ag, and, Red Cross. They was given a specific time that we was gonna pay $0 for rent. As of January 1st, 2024, they're gonna start charging Hickman County $1 per square foot for each of those buildings that we occupy. So, long story short, it's gonna be in the neighborhood of about $82,800 a year just in rent. Now, my office has took it upon itself to find alternatives for this, to get them out of where they're at. There's a lot of options that we have. I just can't stand here and give you all the options that I have because I don't know them all yet. However, we are looking into that to see if we can put them somewhere where it's not gonna cost $82,800 a year in rent. So we're looking at several alternatives for that, and I will share with you as I come across them. I'll keep you guys informed. If I have to email every one of you, I will, to let you know, hey, this is what we found. What do you think? If I have to put it on a survey, it doesn't matter. I'll make sure everybody at this body gets it. Right now, my office is looking into a FEMA grant. It'll put a community type center building at Parnell Clemens Park up on Oak Hill. Now, the reason I said a FEMA grant is because what's gonna happen is they will grant you the money, from my understanding, if there's a storm shelter built inside the building. So with that being said, there's like a 25% match to that. I did some calculations. I went and talked to Crystal this morning. There is money that is earmarked for tourism and Parks and Recreation because it all follows under that umbrella. That would be our 25% match. So basically, I can have a community center type building with a storm shelter inside of it, sitting at that park for those people of that community, which I think is very beneficial, for $0 to the county. I think it's $0. As far as right now, it's 0. If anything changes with that, I'll let you know. We're currently, my office is also looking into a grant that is, we think it's 100% funded to put a splash pad at Beaufort McCord Park. We looked in that as well. It's gonna be 100% funded by, I think Blue Cross Blue Shield, is that correct? So we're looking at that in the office. Building plans for the Pinewood EMS station, they have been approved. We're waiting on the engineers to mark the site so we can go out there and get a septic permit and get a physical address. Once we get a physical address, we can start them on their way to bid process to move in the dirt and build a building. The only problem with this, I just found out a while ago in solid waste that there is some little thing that the state's gonna require that we do, which is okay, no big deal. I'm still planning on them to be done by December, but they laughed at me, so. It's gonna take a little bit, so we're looking at somewhere maybe the springtime for that station to be finished. Look, you're laughing at me too, thanks. As well as moving the convenience center at East, we're on a roll with that. Again, there's something to state that we have to do in there. Marty knows more about it. before they can ever start moving the dirt on Highway 7. I did write a letter to TDOT saying that that was a county road now, that we will have to be taking care of it. The reason I had to do that is because that's what puts the culvert system in on Highway 7. It's gotta be the concrete one with the bars across it. One of them heavy duty jobs, I'm assuming. I had something on here about the animal shelter, but I appreciate everything you're doing, Clay. I just want you to know that. And Devin, I appreciate y'all being on that, for those folks. There's 14 acres on Highway 7. My office was approached, Brenda's office was approached by the same folks. They want to purchase 2 acres of that property. It is Nations RV. They're the ones with the camper things right down there at the side where I guess they redo them and sell them off, I don't know. I explained to the lady that it was a long process because I had to bring it before you, and if anything happens, it's gotta go back to IBD before it's ever sold. I explained that to her. She emailed me the other day, asked me if I heard anything, and I told her I'd yet to be here at this meeting. Now, with that being said, I will say that Brenda is still pursuing the aerospace company, as well as there's a battery company that has showed initiative to come into Hickman County as well. And they're both looking at that property. So it's gonna be up to this panel of commissioners to decide what you wanna do. But I told her at least I would bring it to your attention, and let it be known that, you know, they wanted to purchase 2 acres. But from my understanding, I don't, yes.
These other 2 companies that are looking at, are they wanting all 14 acres or?
Well, they're not gonna get all 14 to begin with, cause the convenience center, the place for the animal shelter is gonna be on the north side of that road that's put through there. So they'll have the remaining, what is it, 8?
Yeah.
There's 8 acres left on the right-hand side, south side of the road.
Of the 8 acres, or these other 2 companies saying that they want all of it, or not?
2 to 3 acres, each project is 2 to 3 acres.
But, there's a but here.
Is we only have so much sewer out there, so we're really only gonna be able to land like 1 project that's 15 to 20, employees.
There's gonna have to be a retention pond put on that side by Highway 7, from my understanding. Yes, sir.
And on that, before we get into anything else, there might be 8 acres there. There's a pretty big setback because of where it is, and there's a requirement for a retention pond, and the mayor mentioned this the other day, so I've had a little more time to think about it than some of y'all might have. With what we have left after animal and solid waste, there's gonna have to be a retention pond on that. If we sell 2 acres, it's not the retention pond, it's the prime 2 acres. And that takes us down to an actual amount of land to build on. It's not that much. You know, right now we've got enough to do the retention pond and it still be viable. If we sell that 2 acres off of it, in my opinion, if we sell that 2 acres off of it, what we have left is not gonna have a great value. And I don't think they would ever pay the amount that it would decrease the value of the property that we have left. It is kind of a situation. I know y'all haven't had as much time to think about it as I have, but I'm prepared to make the motion to have the mayor tell them we're not of a mind to sell it. I don't want, if y'all not there yet, because you just heard about this, we can take a little bit of time, maybe think about it and take it back up at the end of the month at the court meeting, but I wouldn't want to string them out because I can't see us selling 2 acres of no more. If we had 20 acres there, 2 acres of it wouldn't mean anything, but 2 acres out of what we have left with what we're looking at, that's a pretty important 2 acres. I'm not making a motion. I'm just saying, I'm to that point, my mind's made up right now, I don't wanna sell it. But I don't wanna jump in front of y'all because you hadn't had as much time to think about it. I ran into him the other day and he threw it at me earlier this week. That's just my opinion of what we have left. We don't have 14 acres. We've got, it would be a lot to say we have 6 usable acres. And if we sold 2 of it, we only have 4 usable acres left out of all that.
Without a retention pond.
Well, because the retention pond's gotta come out, and it's gonna have to be there to satisfy the state.
Well, do you see a scenario where you would sell?
All of it.
You wouldn't wanna shop, you just wanna,
I wouldn't want, no more than we have left, I wouldn't wanna sell a piece of that because the remainder gets devalued more than anybody
Right.
would ever pay
than what it's
for
worth.
what
than
they got.
Than what you left with. So you would say as a unit, sell it all as a
One track.
whole.
If they wanted it all, we'd be talking about how much we wanted to charge for it right now.
So there's no scenario where you
Just 2 acres is my issue.
Yep.
You wanna go ahead? Keith?
Not sure how quick my math is tonight, so, it appears then, based on the conversation, that there's 8 usable acres on that property.
I think it's 8 total. Of that, 6 of it's usable because of setbacks and the retention pond. The 8 remaining.
There's probably 8 on the right side of the road, I would say.
So what you're saying is there are, at this time, there are only 6 usable acres available.
Cause once they start building on it, you're gonna have to put a retention pond.
Has these folks, as Nation RV, have they said, we said, we're not that interested in selling 2, but would you be interested in purchasing the remainder? Is that?
That might be.
Huh?
And then they could put their own detention pond in,
Yeah.
you know, they could buy it all.
So, I mean, if that's, I mean, I'm just, I know that everybody's just kind of catching up to this, and I certainly hadn't heard anything about it until a few minutes ago. Everybody heard about it. But that would seem like the appropriate thing to do is if there's an existing industry there, and I mean, y'all can see that place is, I'm not sure all of what they do, but there's a lot more of it going on now than it was to begin with. I just wonder if it would be in our best interest to say, no, we're not interested in selling 2. However, we would sell you the 6.
Well, Keith, in my conversations with this young lady, I did tell her that all of it was for sale, and she made it specifically clear she only wanted 2.
So, but that may have been when it was an option.
Yeah,
as opposed to go back. So let me do this. I know that we're not gonna do anything tonight.
Right.
Other than, here's what I would suggest, and I'm gonna make a motion to that the mayor approach Nations RV and determine whether or not they would be interested in the balance of the property that's south of that road, between the road and them. See if they're interested.
I got a motion, let's get a second. Any second? All in favor?
Who was the second on that?
Daniel.
If they say no, then we haven't heard anything, but let's make sure they understand that that's an option.
All right. Yes, sir.
Between the battery company and whatever the other company is, you know, are they out of it or are they?
They're not out of it. They've been trying to wait to see, you know, where we are with the convenience center and the animal shelter, what's gonna be left in usable property. You know, they're just.
They're trying to figure out what's left.
Yeah, they're.
You know, and it basically is like, you know, if whatever's the best company has an option to get it all. And Nations RV is there. You know, and so I kind of go along with the provision, give them an offer. Let them make an offer. Because they are there.
Let me ask you this, because I'm still new at this game. the commission has to turn it back over to IBD before it can be sold, correct?
Yep.
Who makes the amount of money that it's worth for what's left?
You saying who sets the price?
Who sets the price on what's left there? Because I know if I approach her with this, they're gonna ask me. What do I tell them?
I'd let them give you a number.
Well, the people who are across the street from them, that they bought 20 or something acres, all at the same price. And so, you know, I don't know what to tell you. You know, the county government bought the land and gave it to the IDV, and then they gave it back to us, so, I don't know.
Well, I know, there again, I'm asking who sets how much the 8 acres is worth? I mean, cause I'm sure she's gonna ask.
And, you know, they're sitting there.
I understand.
It should be worth a lot more to them than potentially somebody else.
Everybody else good? No questions? No more?
Is that all you have?
That's all I got. I'm good, thank you.
Sheriff, you up? All right, Alan?
Matthew,
Yeah.
Jim, I
Yes.
had a question, but it was on when you were running down that list of
No,
things.
that's fine. Go ahead, sir.
Blue Cross Blue Shield's an insurance company, health insurance.
Mhm.
Are they throwing money out for a splash pad, or have they offered up money for something healthy for the community and somebody has decided a splash pad would be the best thing to have?
Well, they do lots of things. They do playground equipment for the
I know
majority.
they've got this big blue program going on and.
You know, so they do a lot of things. I have talked to the park out there. They recommended that maybe we go for that. The Centerville pool has been shut down, so there's really no, I mean, it's covered with dirt now, so there's no,
Well,
excuse me for saying this for the kids.
my point is, the people that made that decision, a splash pad has ongoing expenses from now on, where a teeter-totter and a swing set has very little. And in my deliberation, that splash pad, the bills coming from now on are gonna come to us. So I'd like to see a list of what Blue Cross Blue Shield would pay for and be involved in that decision.
Absolutely. I'll get you
Because
on.
I know where the bill's gonna go.
Our office had spoke to them, and they said that there was a way that they could reacclimate the water to keep it circulating through there, so it wouldn't cost any more water. So once it gets running through there, I guess it's kinda like filling up a swimming pool from my understanding. Once you fill it up, you pay that bill, and it just reclamates water. But I'll get you a list if you'd like one.
Be sure to point out that during the winter time, the thing has to be emptied so that you're filling it every year. You know, and that's fair.
And I'll echo what Danny said, because we looked at putting a splash pad in up at Camp Maryborough years ago, and it was gonna be almost like maintenance on putting a full swimming pool in with the chemicals and the filtration system and all, so. I'm not saying that is not ultimately the project you decide on, but you need to know what the maintenance cost on it would be year to year.
It's not a free puppy, it's a free
Oh, no,
St.
I know.
Bernard.
Well, we've been talking to Perry County, they're the closest to us, and they have one. So, you know, they said it wasn't bad at all, so that's kind of what we went on when we got together on it. But I'll bring you a list if you want one.
Well, I was just wondering were they offering a splash pad, or were they offering a monetary grant for something healthy?
They offer both. So I mean, you know, yes, sir.
I think they've got one in Perry County, they've got one in Dixon now.
It's a huge one in there.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think that you could get, based on the number of square feet of concrete, an annual operating cost based on the water usage and whatnot. So, maybe at the next meeting, you could have that.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's a big question mark, so let's just get an answer.
Absolutely. I'll have it for you. Anything else? Thank you, gentlemen and lady.
Good evening, everyone. So we start, with, June's numbers, and, we ended up, at the end of June, looking back through the year with 3,521 runs. That's about 100 and something more than what we had last year. And so it's bouncing around there, around that number each year, from 3,500 to 3,800 total runs that we make. In the month of June, we had 286 runs, and 193 of those were billable. Our collections are $51,254.42, and the charges were $206,677.19. The expanded view, if you want to look at June before we go to July, on the next page, kind of trends that for you on that page, and then a very in-depth view from a billing company, and also you can see the bad debt that we had talked about is ever increasing. You'll see it's $5,625,118 at the end of June. I have passed around another little notebook or a little statement thing that's got the numbers on it. On one column, I didn't make more than one because it's 60-something pages from back. But the past statute in one column and the current in the other, because we had talked about using that or taking those folks to court, and we anything that was over $600, and I think it's Clay that asked to see kind of what that would look like, and we could look at the current and see kind of how that is, and also trend what's happened with the past as well. All right, any questions on the June numbers? All right, our July numbers, 293 total runs, 217 billable, collections 83,780.21, charges 227.36.76, and again, you can see that kind of expanded out on the page following one we were just referring to, and then also the detail list there on the A and B page, and just that 1 month course. All right, any questions on July? And we have no write-offs to ask for at this time.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the financial.
I move to approve this purpose.
Motion, second. Not roll call vote.
I'll hang on a minute.
All right.
Roll call. Brandon Barnhill.
Yes.
Wally McNair.
Yes.
Steve Janakis.
Yes.
Kenny Clark.
Yes.
Carl Moore.
Yes.
Ron Mayberry.
Yes.
Dustin Jordan.
Yes.
Keith Nash.
Yes.
Ricky Murray.
Yes.
Devin Pickard.
Yes.
Paul Calcott.
Yes.
Clay Chesser.
Yes.
Michael Wynn Thomason.
Yes.
Todd Collins.
Yes.
Director's notes, if you'll remember last time we met, I asked you guys to keep Randy Chandler in prayers. He was on life support at that time. Happy to report that he reported back to duty last week, and is back to his mean old self. So we're glad to have him back. We still have 2 employees out on workers' comp. One returned to work, and then just as soon as one returned, another went out. And so we have people getting injured on these lift assists. We find people in all kind of different positions. It's not just a simple, hey, you're on the floor, can I help you up? They're under the commode, they're they're under a cabinet or something like that, and so it takes a lot to get them out, and with two personnel, they can call for lift assist, a lot of, or help with the lift assist. Some of the fire departments come out, or if there's another truck available, they can come out, but getting them into those areas, usually there's just room for one or two people to help that lift assist. So these are our greatest liability, and they are the reason for most of our worker comp claims. We're unable to charge for that service, so they're total liability, and they cost us a great deal. We have one of our employees who will be off almost a full year before he returns. It was a shoulder injury, and we're seeing that with shoulder injuries, it's taken him a year to get back on the job. Unfortunately, the second guy that got injured has a shoulder injury, and so again, we're probably looking at another year for an employee's out of service. We had so many people out that Crystal was really sweating, and I was really sweating our budget there at the end of the year, because we had spent so much on overtime trying to fill these positions of people who were out for various different reasons, who were legitimately sick. There's no real good answer. We've looked for equipment that would help us do that, but there's no equipment that you can put in an ambulance and carry into a house and get into these real tight spaces and help these folks up. So it's definitely a concern that we need to look for some solutions to this problem. Also, our new ambulance is almost finished. Jesse Woodall and I will be going down on the 23rd and 24th of this month to give it a once-over, make sure it's set up the way we want it set up, and then at the end of the month they should be bringing it to us. So very, very close on that. Mayor kept you or brought you up to date on the station information. Also, with your permission, we'd like to adjust the amount that our EMDIs get paid. They're our county coroners. They go out, and you have to be at least an EMT to do that job. It's not in our job description. It's something that people do extra, and so they receive about $50 per investigation. I remember Memorial Day two or 3 years ago, I was out 12 hours on one Saturday, Memorial Day, and it was Memorial Day, so Saturday, but two different deaths, and I was out there on each one for 6 hours, so a total of 12 hours, and you get $50, but that's not. So there's a lot of waiting on people to get there when you have to call investigators and stuff like that. A lot of paperwork, and there's also the possibility of being called back to court. And so most other counties pay quite a bit more than that. We could do this without adding anything to our budget. It's not an additional cost on the budget, so we're not tapping into the general fund there. We've got the state who is reimbursing us part of this, so $25, and just started that here in the last couple, 3 years. Found out that they would help us with that. So we're getting reimbursed from the state $25 per investigation. Again, we can do this without increasing the current budget.
Second. All in favor? Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
We just spent some money, didn't we?
Roll call. I figured we just gave her permission. All right, roll call.
Roll call. Matthew Barnhill.
Yes.
Wiley McNair.
Yes.
Steve Janakis.
Yes.
Danny Clark.
Yes.
Carla Moore.
Yes.
Ron Mayberry.
Yes.
Dusty Jordan.
Yes.
Keith Nash.
Yes.
Ricky Murray.
Yes.
Devin Pickard.
Yes.
Claude Calcott.
Yes.
Clay Chester.
Yes.
Michael Wayne Thomason.
Yes.
Don Collins.
Yes.
So we're having issues with comp time. The way Federal law reads is like when you're in emergency service, each employee can have up to 480 hours of comp time, where it's can, not has to. And so we've been through COVID, and so we've got a lot of people with a lot of comp time. We're going to work with finance to get that back down. Our policy is that they could have 200. And so we're going to make sure that we start paring that down. We haven't been able to grant a lot of comp time because we've been so short. So we're having people who are coming and want to cash out their comp. And so that was another avalanche that hit us at the end of last year. People are used to getting that comp time cashed out. Usually in June, we do that if we have funds available. This first year we didn't, but we had so many people out. And so we're trying to set up some rules that are a little more stern. You know, we're not going to let you come and use this as a bank account where you think, hey, I need to go buy a new car and I'm going to get down payment from my comp account, because it's so hard for us to regulate the spending that way. So we're working on that to make sure that it's right. That was a real tough issue of the past couple of weeks. We had a lot of hurt feelings there by some folks. So we're working to fix that. Last thing that I want to share with you is past due accounts. And again, we had that little bundle of paper stapled together. I didn't make it across. Anybody want to see it? But it gives the list of that $5 million, that $5.6 million of past due, and it tells us what is current and what is past statute that they can't collect on. And so you know, we need to come up with a plan on how we want to proceed. Anything on that list that is over $600, we could take in court. So I'm still working with Dave Lewis, who's the guy who's the director of that department, and we're going to find out about how much we would get out of that. You know, if we took a $600 account, how much, you know, we would get out of that. So still an ongoing process there. But I wanted you to kind of see the numbers to see how many of those are over $600 that are actionable. All right, that's all I have. Yes, ma'am.
Have we historically had a practice of sending these people up to court?
We have not.
So this has not been done before?
We have not. So the federal guidelines for collecting has changed. And so that's the reason we're seeing such a decline. So like Dave Lewis, the guy I'm working with, told us that, and he sent me the guidelines. I think they were in last month's packet if you want to look back. But those guidelines say that they can't turn them over to a collection agency for a full year. And so there's, you know, they've got that was their leverage that they would use is, hey, we'll turn you over to a collection agency if it's not paid for by X amount of time. Well, they can't do that anymore. And also, if it's under 500, they can't turn them into the credit agency at all. So, you know, they're just, those under $500 accounts are just there. And nothing that we would do about it, because, you know, $600, what they're looking for.
But even still, we don't have a history of even.
No, we don't. We don't.
So
there's a change in our collections. They drop so drastically. We're looking for a solution. This may not be the solution, but it's the option that we have if we want to recover any of that money. And you know, it may not be the right thing to do, but I had to bring it to you to let you know that is an option.
And I'd love to know more about that too.
Sure.
Is that one?
Yep. I'll loop you in on an email and let you.
More questions?
Alan, do you know what any of our neighboring counties do in relation to that?
None of them. that I've talked to take anybody forward.
No matter what the amount is?
No, they just write it off.
They run about the same percentage we are, about 4 or something, maybe less.
I haven't checked the percentages, but just by talking.
They're the same.
But by talking to the directors, I know that they're not doing anything. And also talking to A&V, I asked Phil Sanderson, our rep, to give me a list of people who are doing that. No one's doing that. So.
Hey, Alan, would you call this a cost of doing business or?
We can, and that's perfectly okay. But I just had to bring you the option, let you know that was there. It's what's that?
That's hard, that's hard right there.
Go ahead, Ken.
So I'm assuming that we've got this data from the people who are, who are handling all this stuff for us. So I would think that there has been some pursuit of this.
Yes, they're calling the people that are on the current list.
So, and I'm not asking you to get this answer tonight, but I would like for, by the time we meet again, I would think that based on most companies, when they do this kind of thing, they've got buckets. You know, here, this is we can't find many more buckets.
Yeah, so the first list is that bucket.
Yeah, here's the screw you, I don't want to ever hear from you again response bucket.
Yeah.
I'd like to know how much of this falls into which of those buckets.
Sure.
Because if people are dead,
right.
You know, obviously we can't pursue it.
This side is the current side, so these are the ones that they're currently pursuing, that equals about 1.7 something million. It's total there, right, that column. The 3 point something million that's in the past statute, they're not working anymore. There's just no hope for it. So they're actively pursuing everybody in that current line there. And I had to sanitize that, so I take the names out of the table right here. Left the numbers there so you can see kind of what they find.
So, I mean, again, but you could then, by next month, you could at least put this in the 5 top category buckets.
Sure.
Identify what those buckets are. And again, I would think one of those buckets is, you know.
Ain't no way.
We don't even know where Celia Jones lives anymore.
So according to Dave Lee's, everybody in that current file, they're still pursuing. That's in the go bucket.
Yeah.
Everybody else is in no more. So they're I'll talk to them and see if there are any other categories that they put them in, and we'll get the numbers on that too.
They can't find them. They're dead.
Yeah.
They can find them, and they're saying, I'm not paying because I don't got any money.
Right.
Or there's got to be some, I would think, some course buckets. At least we could get our head around what's causing this. So.
Yeah, and again, it's that, you know, it's the changing statute, federal statute changing is just kind of gate. They don't have leverage anymore to do anything. They can't take them. They can't take them to the credit bureaus and anything like that for a year. And then again, anything under $500, they can't take it off. So, you know, there's no incentive for the people to pay in those circumstances.
And how many, I mean, I'm assuming then that these past and current is all an incident. So, you know, on this first page, if I counted up all the entries here, that would be all the occurrences, each of those is an individual occurrence. So, how many of this, and I'm asking again, I think another question, how many of these represent one person, multiple?
So I can easily show you that.
Okay.
And so there are about 5,600 in that
entries
in that first line. I saw people with multiple entries in there, and so I can redact that again and cover their names. You'll see a black line, and then how many, you know, how much they owe and how many different times. So,
Well, I think this was good information for us to have to digest, so we look at this and not maybe, may not help us going in the past, but maybe helps us as we look toward the future.
When did it start? Alan, how far did that go back?
we started with them, what year was it, Jim?
2013, and just to kind of give you a number, roughly, a couple of years ago, we did this, roughly $60,000 per year of unpaid is all related to narcotic usage. So that just kind of, those are never gonna pay, they don't, they always fall off, and, yeah.
About 2011, 12, we figured out that in the past, there'd been a lot of this wrote off just because they were already taxpayers paid for this.
Yeah.
And how much of that had gone on and we had previously been doing that now has caught up with us and we're keeping track of it instead of.
Yeah, well, it's always been on this sheet, we just never highlighted it. So this A and B sheet is always on there. But I don't know if you recall or not, that they sent me an email saying that we were 22 million. You remember that fiasco?
Yeah.
And then they figured out they had some kind of wrong calculation in their machine there. It was not that much, but that's what started all this. Looking at it is when they made that mistake in coding their program.
We may have to make a decision as a body on how to handle this before it gets to this, because in the past it was, leave it alone. We were told that, then and had somebody say, yeah, call it doing business.
Yeah, and either way.
And it was shot that night too.
That's a decision for you guys to make. I just want to bring it to you, let you know that that's an option, because, our collections aren't going up. We're not making budget, and I don't think we have, or I don't think that's an aspiration, but we're getting further and further away from that.
I think, Keith's point is, the individual that repeatedly keeps appearing on the list.
There's lots of them, lots of them, bad offenders.
That's bad.
Yeah. All right, any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thanks. And EMA director?
Oh, you trying to back mine? Now we know how his got run. Good afternoon, evening, it's almost supper time. On our first page, our call volume has increased over that last month of July. Part of the reason is you'll see on our medical calls, we're trying to assist EMS as well, especially on lift assist, because their trucks have been out and they're in Nashville or St. Thomas, Hickman, or over at Natchez. So we can go ahead and jump out there and pick somebody up out of the floor and say, hey, they're good to go. That saves them of 30 minutes or calling from the county. So you'll see medical calls on there, and that's one of the reasons why. Car crashes have been up, house fires have been up here recently. Made a phone call in for Red Cross on one of those. Vehicle fires as well that happen to be in the woods has happened also. I've not got my fuel bill for this month, so I was not able to uptake that. So what I'm gonna start doing is putting in the previous month's bill. So we'll just be about a month behind on the fuel bill, so that way it works out easier. Our EMA expenses, of course, for the first of the year, so not much has been spent. Under fire prevention and control, we haven't spent anything out of that, but that's for some change, because they're all fixing to start going to some classes here coming up. So not much big items going out. Time, of course, first of the budget year, so we've got our accrued time coming in. This week, if you need Pete, he's off burning vacation, so you just have to deal with me, sorry. Last page, we did not have to activate the EOC for the month of July and then the first part of this month of August. The EOC has been used a whole lot the last probably 3 months. SO's been out doing in-service. Hickman County Rescue Squad hosted a multi-agency extrication for a week. MLEC came out and done an in-service there for a day. We have our standards that come out, which is Banana Pudding Festival, behavioral health, stuff like that. They're there all the time. The events that we've done for July, Boom on the Duck twice. So we were asked to come out and be the incident command lead for the chamber for the Boom on the Duck. So we went out the first time, of course, got rained out. So second time, set it up just the same way, and ran smooth, ran great, and we had our beautiful fireworks show that presented on, and everyone got out smooth. Had a couple little injuries that were all Band-Aid injuries. We ran the med tent. EMS was, again, they're busy, so we have EMTs there, AMTs and paramedics that were also there along with fire departments. So I think we ended up with 4 Band-Aid calls and 1 missing child, but the child was found within like 15 seconds. So the event went off without a hitch. As far as training goes for us, of course, the national floodplain training that we're trying to transition back from then back to our office will be at the conference next week for floodplain management. We sat in Hickman County Sheriff's Department's in service. They did 2 of them over the last month and a half. We sat through that, went to the range, did some shooting with them. Also sat in the extrication class for the fire departments. And then we done a public safety department head meeting that we do a quarterly meeting. We ran a tabletop exercise for them on a building collapse in the center of town. So I went through everyone's stuff, dispatch was there as well. Meetings, fortunately, last month was nice, there was just one. Main meeting was, that one is our hazardous mitigation plan meeting. Our plan is up to January of 2024. So it's good for 5 years. We have to renew it every 5 years. It takes about 6 months worth of process to get to your renewal state. This is where a lot of those FEMA grants come into play. The shelters, highway department working on storm drains, MLEC working on different ways to move their power lines so they don't have trees falling down onto them. So we had our first meeting, in-house meeting with all the members that can be able to actually pull their funds out to be able to use and come up with what we want to look at for possible projects. September, no, it's this month. August, I'll have to get y'all the date, and y'all will be getting an email here pretty soon. This month we're having a public one because we have to have 3 meetings. So we'll have that first one we just had. We'll have a public hearing meeting so the public gets to know and put their input in what they would like to see. And then our final meeting where we all come together and say, this is what the plan is going to look like. It'll then go from us to the state. The state will review it. State will send it to FEMA. FEMA will review it. They normally kick it back. Hardly ever do you get a plan not kicked back. Things will be tweaked, get sent back to FEMA. FEMA will make their final approval. It'll get sent back to the state and then finally to us. Hence why it takes 6 months. So I'm encouraging, I'm sending out emails to you all as well for the public meetings so that way you can understand if you do not know what our hazardous mitigation plan is and what it's for and how the funds can be utilized that come out. So the meeting's 10 to 12, and I'll get y'all the date when I send the email. The other thing is our new weather station. So we have what's called an SDS weather station. So it has a live camera feed into it. We have import into a weather system app that's used both online on the computer and on your cell phones that we can also log in and see everybody else's cameras and apps. It also tells us the wind, the heat index, all that good jazz. Right now, we currently have one on our mobile communications trailer that we utilize for any type of major incidences, so we have the weather where we're at right then and there. Last year's budget, we had in plan to purchase a new system to be mounted, so we were able to finally get all that in. We're going to be looking think next week we have a tower climber on how much they charge us to climb up the tower and work, with Tennessee Wireless about the internet side of it. From what we're looking for, this first camera will be mounted in Pleasantville, over off the tower there. What this will do, this will give us lifetime feed of any time we're able to see clouds coming in any direction, move the camera around in the sky, plus it'll give us all the weather stuff we need to know it there as well. And we're hoping when we put on what our communication funds looks like, first and one for the east end of the county, coming up for this year. The other thing that's not on there is CASA, everyone's familiar with it. I think that's how you pronounce it. The CA, the court appointed specialty advocate group. They approached us, Judge Puckett has appointed one for Hickman County. And they hired in, but didn't have a place to go. So they are temporarily living in the EOC. She is, and that way she has a place to come in and do her work until they're able to find a suitable place. Just like anybody else that's in that building that sits with us, they know that during a disaster, SWAT team comes in, it's our building, we gotta take it back over. They were very appreciative of the space that they're given temporarily. So they are with us. And the last thing is the fire budget. They had their meeting last month. Everything went really well. The way they divvied up the money, there was no arguments, complaints. I see East got 54, Squad got 54, Pleasantville got 30, and the other 12 remained in the association, 2 of which went to finish paying off an engine that Bucksnort owned. The last 10 of it, from my understanding, it was, if anything comes up within any of the departments and somebody needs something major, go to the association to take care of it. Their checks should have been distributed. I know they went Friday to pick up the check from finance. It's been deposited and started distributed into the fire departments. And that's it. And I'm freezing up here, so I'm shaking.
I know.
It's cold.
That's good. Any questions?
Any questions?
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Robert. Mr. Robert. Could you wait around just for a moment?
Yeah, I'll do it. I think it's gonna take sure a while.
Really?
I didn't say earlier, this sheriff department has just been very important. I think it's a lot because he, make sure I get that.
Thanks to you and to both of you.
This area goes forward,
Feels great, man.
By the way, my maintenance department spends a lot of time at this jail and EOC building.
Yeah, I think Matt's actually blocked my number from his phone now, so I can't even call him.
Well, I call him, I don't even need to call him, I just come over here and find him.
Good to see everybody again after having the last month off. Just a few things we'll cover. So a week before last, we did go out and do our first Governor's Highway Safety Office DUI saturation. And during that time, we made during Friday and Saturday night, we made 52 traffic stops, wrote 29 warning tickets, 17 citations, 6 criminal citations, 4 misdemeanor arrests with narcotics, 1 traffic violation arrest, 1 felony arrest, and ended up towing 2 vehicles. And I also want to thank Mr. Wiley for coming out one of those nights and hanging out with us. Anything you want to say about your experience?
Yeah, I'll just say, everybody should do it. Went out with, mention names, but went out with the best deputies and from about 6 p.m. till 2 or 3 in the morning. And it's a really eye opener. With my background in the military, and I work with MPs a lot, so it's like really going back to a lot of things that I'm familiar with, and it's really a lot of fun being out there, but everybody should do it. It's really an eye-opener to see when you go out there and you see other cars community, but just how much illegal activity there is out there. If you go out there, it's an eye-opener. And just follow what somebody else said. So at 2:15 in the morning, when we're going back up where Lenita's to check on the car, we see a set of headlights up there. Wonder who that is. Sheriff sitting up there at 2:15 in the morning on a Saturday morning. So, you know, just shout out to Sheriff. He just does a great job, I believe.
Greatly appreciate it. And actually, I don't know if you had seen it before, but you'd see some meth and some heroin.
We in traffic stop, we had 8 of them with meth. 8+ out of 10.
It's a good thing. Yeah. So, just the thing that our guys deal with all the time. That like I said, I don't know if you've ever seen it before, but like I said, this is the stuff that our guys deal with all the time. And it was like I said, I appreciate you coming out and like I said, staying the whole time. I mean, that's a long time.
5 minutes, like 5 minutes. Let's go up and get another one. We're having a good time.
Well, we greatly appreciate it. Like I said, anybody that's we're in it, anybody that's come out and ride, please let us know, and we'll get you hooked up. And like I said, it's definitely a lot of times an eye-opening experience. Like I said, they stay hopping most of the time. We have been really busy last couple of months, as Amanda talked about with our in-service. You know, back the last few years, the Sheriff's Department has been doing virtual in-service. And that was one of the things we want to come in to change and actually do in-person in-service to where, you know, if you have questions, you have an instructor there that you can ask. And we done a lot of hands-on stuff. Like I said, it was pretty good in-service. So very, very proud of that. And we'll continue to build on where we started from. Actually, we greatly appreciate Amanda and them for letting us use the training room out there. She's been working with Lieutenant Dotto. One of our, we've been very fortunate on grants here the last 11 months. And a couple of grants we've got has been from TCI, Tennessee Corrections Institute, and a lot of that's for training and training equipment. So Amanda, Lieutenant Dotto, they're in the process now working together. We're fixing to start upgrading a lot of stuff at her building, so we'll have updated computers and projectors and everything, so we all use it, and it's going to be beneficial for everybody. One of the other TCI grants, well, actually, it's go ahead and hand this out. The facilities grant, and with that. When we applied for it, we actually applied for a couple of vehicles, and we went back and talked to them and discussed that. And our question was vehicles for the jail. It is great to actually, this is updated from what Brad got this week. Our question was, hey, thank you for letting us buy brand new vehicles, but one, do we have to buy brand new vehicles, and do we have to put them at the jail? Because the jail's not out on the road all the time, they'll be sitting there a lot of times unless we have transports. And they said, no, as long as you have reliable transportation at the jail, then you can buy 10 vehicles, buy 12 vehicles, whatever you can stretch that money for. So we've been able to buy 3 so far. We still have some money left over. We've had to make some road trips to get them. A couple of them, like I said, we're able to buy, like I said, they're older federal vehicles. They have blue lights in them, they have cages in them, they're completely equipped. We have to put a radio in them. And we may buy them from anywhere from $6,000 to $9,000. Depending on where they're at, we may have to pay $3,000 shipping. So actually, me and another officer went last week. We left out at 4 o'clock in the morning, drove to Tyler, Texas, picked up a vehicle and drove it back. Got home about 10 o'clock at night. So we can do that, and it saves quite a bit of money when we do that. And like I said, it'll have a good vehicle for us. And it's got 50,000 miles on it. That'll last us long. while I'm on the jail, we have a couple things too. So meeting with CTAS, a couple weeks ago, and, you know, a lot of the stuff I'm still learning every day, and stuff I don't know, and like I said, CTAS is great to work with, and, one thing that got brought up is inmate medical. You know, that's always a problem for us, everything we're doing, inmate medical and the price of it. And one of the CTAS representatives asked us, well, how often are y'all billing the inmates that are in jail their insurance? So that's a good question. I didn't know we could do that. And he said, absolutely. So right now, we're in the process of going back through every inmate that's at the jail. If they have health insurance, we'll put it in their file. So if something happens, their medication, if they're sick at the hospital, that information goes with them to the hospital. We're gonna bill their insurance. We're still gonna be liable for what's left over, but that's gonna help us a lot in our medical costs. Like I said, I said, has that ever been done before? And my understanding, no. So I'm hoping when this is said and done, it's gonna save us a bunch of money. Like I said, we're, like I said, learning as you go. I never would have even thought about that. So, school's starting back. Like I said, been busy. I know people that drive buses and stuff. We've been trying to help with school prep and stuff as much as we can. Like I said, there are times we're not gonna be there, but we're gonna do the best to do what we can. So, if you look on your sheet there, like I said, that facilities grant, which Matt's been great with that. I think, you know, our jail is getting a few years old now, and again, I see Matt more than I do some of my employees. He's at the jail almost every day, just about. And we've had some issues going out, some washers, and we was able to use this grant, I think, to pay for that, so it didn't have to come out of his budget. And we're also buying new uniforms for everyone that, for all the inmates, we get new uniforms, and also we're buying new mats for everybody at the jail as well. Then, like I said, there's more housekeeping stuff that we're able to buy, cleaning supplies, different things that come out of that grant. Right, elder family safety, again, most of that's overtime money. That's what paid for the saturation we done the other night. We did get our check for the school resource officers. That grant got funded last week. Does that sound right, Ms. Crystal? I think so. That came in last week. The Tennessee Corrections Institute, that's where, I said for the training grants, that's where a lot of our training stuff will be coming from that. Tennessee Law Enforcement Training Academy. So years ago, as everybody knows, we were paying, every time we sent someone to the police academy, we had to pay about $2,000. So now, the police academy is free. So anybody we send up there doesn't cost us anything. Well, they put out a grant out and we actually applied for it, and like I said, it's secured with us now. Is any person we send up there, now we can send them, they give us $10,000 per person for equipment, anything to do with the job that they do. So we're gonna get $10,000 per person for every person we send now. So before we were paying them, now they're gonna pay us to send people up there. So that's big on uniforms, guns, gun belts, anything. So very, very excited about that as well. And like I said, and it's secured for the next 4 years. Violent crime grant, again, that's gonna be some overtime, some different equipment for the sheriff's department, also vehicles in that as well. And retention recruitment grant, which is over the next 8 years, to where it is actually a state funded grant to where any of the new employees that come on with us now, they can get a $1,000 hire-on bonus. In 6 months, they can get another $1,000. A year, they get another $1,000. And all that's paid by the state just to keep people here. Once we hire them, they keep people, and not where we're training them and they're going somewhere else making more money. So, like I said, we've been very fortunate. Like I said, you know, it's not all this year, but in 11 months, like I said, since And I did task Lieutenant Dotto, I said, any grant that's out there that we can use that can benefit our department, we need to be applying for it. Free money, we need to try to get it. Right now, we're secured up until 2028, $1,167,096. So right at $1.2 million in 11 months is what we secured. Doing what we can.
Mr. Kraft?
Yes.
I think you were due a round of applause.
No.
I get it, I'm not saying anybody else doesn't, but on your overtime grant, the saturation the other night, he was able to pay those guys $40 an hour. $50.
Yes. So that is one thing, if y'all remember here a few months ago about our redoing our pay policy. And the Governor's Highway Safety Office actually, when it told us this, is you have a lot of officers that they could not get to work for $25 an hour overtime because they can go to Nashville and work a Titan game or work downtown for $50 an hour. So that actually got put in their grant money is you can pay up to that $50 an hour to keep your deputies working at home where they're not having to travel to Nashville or somewhere else to work. So the guys that work, yes, they make $50 an hour that night.
Wow.
Helps you keep you some happy employees.
Yes, yes, it does. Like I said, one of the things is that, and I know we've talked to Crystal a little bit about it, and I know, like I said, your budget, it came up with manpower. And one thing that I would like to see, and like I said, how it works, I don't know, but the money we're getting from the SRO grant, to see if it could be moved into a line item for salaries, to where we may be able to hire some more deputies. Like I said, exactly, like I said, I don't know, Crystal may know more about it, but like I said, how much we can do, how much we, what we can move, but I think it's a great opportunity that we have where we can hire deputies and it would not be any extra cost to the people of our community. Like I said, I know pretty much everybody, I think Wiley probably seen a lot of times it gets hectic really quick. And, you know, we've been short-handed for so long. I think this is the opportunity, like I said, where we can hire some people, and like I said, there's no extra cost. I did reach out and speak with Commissioner of Public Safety, Homeland Security today, and he said the grant's already funded for next year. He said, Jason, I did not see this going away. He said it's going to be there. But I just want to mention that to y'all, see what y'all thought about that as well. Any questions?
Yes, sir.
We can be looking for a budget amendment next week.
Yes, I'll get one.
I got a question. I heard you mention C-Task and heard you talk about learning things that you didn't know.
Yes.
Are we still required to do an annual view of the jail to approve it, or at least?
That's my understanding.
I've served on the committee before, on the sheriff jail committee when it was called the sheriff jail. And we had to do an annual review of just go down there and look at it, whether we had voted on it or not.
I know I've talked to a couple of y'all, and I know like I said, who it was, the sheriff jail committee, that was part of it. I really do not know. But whenever y'all are ready, we'll do it too. Whenever everything is worked out with y'all, I said, I'll be glad to do it too, or whatever works best for y'all.
You know, all I'm saying is, I know that we were required to do it annually, and whether we still do or not, I don't know, but it hasn't been done in a couple of years.
I don't know if it's something like I said you'd want to set on a public safety night, or what would be a night. And like I said, it probably wouldn't take too long for us to run down and do it. Todd, you need to get healed up good enough yet.
Oh, yeah. I'm not running for nobody.
You're not running for nobody.
All right.
Thank y'all very much.
Good job.
But does anybody have any for maintenance, Mr. Hackle? Anybody have anything for him, property and maintenance? Anybody got any questions? No questions?
I'd like to call Mr. Action back to stand for good, this subject.
Say cross-examine. Cross-examine.
You're still under oath.
Mr. Action, you asked us to, you'd like for us to change from a verbal, just call you up, tell you that we've got a problem, to a written complaint.
We don't accept written complaints, and that's what we, for lack of words, investigate, go look at. Because what I'm getting into, if we had one today, I went to Oak Springs to look at one. I couldn't see a thing from the front of the house, if they got junk, it's in the back. And the lady that's turned the complaint in doesn't live in the 1,500-foot range. How she's seen their backyard, I don't know. So it's gotta be a Hatfield McCoy thing a lot of times. I met with some people today. They might have had an issue when I drove by, but they pretty much solved a lot of it. And turns out that they've been fighting for them, people that filed the complaint. So you got that, but I had to file a complaint to go on that one. It would cut some workload down also, where you're not just running after those calls constantly. And I'm the only one making the decision that something's gotta be done. And that's where we amended the resolution to where we only looked into what someone signed the complaint.
So that was brought up in the beginning, it was what we wanted to do, but after we run this process for a while and you've seen it firsthand, this is your recommendation, I don't know how we go from here, how we change that. Is it,
We could write the amendment.
Okay.
And just have to have a couple of sponsors to bring it, yeah.
I'll sponsor that. You'll have it meeting and see if we can see what everybody else is.
But your office can handle the amendment being written?
Yeah, we can get it written up.
Well, actually, resolution.
The resolution. And it's just, I think it just worked better. We have solid ground to stand on. And we have not yet had to bring anybody to court that signed the complaint. If we got that complaint, Judge Puckett sees it, it just really helps. We'll normally get our judgment if she sees that.
You're needing this so that if I call and complain, I can't have an expectation of you doing anything about it if I'm not willing to come down there and sign it.
That's right. I won't accept the call. Or we'll explain to them that they have to sign. And I've met two people since 19 and actually looked at it and let them sign it. If they just were not able to get out, if they were having a big issue. But that's not saying I won't run and meet every one of them, but those that's got those situations and they're willing to sign the complaint, I try to go to them.
I'd point out that Noelle is sitting back there and she does an excellent job on putting the words to the resolution if you need help from her.
I think we can handle that.
I think you are too.
And I know she does a great job of getting information out to all of us.
That's all I have.
Anything else? Good. You released.
All right.
Anybody got anything else? Any kind of motion to adjourn?
To adjourn this meeting.